Excellent. Well, welcome back to the Future Trends Forum. We have another EDUCAUSE person here with us, and we're so excited to have Susan. I want to say Susan Grajek, but that's not right. Is it actually a hard J?
If you were Polish, Grajek would be right.
Grajek.
Yes,
Very
but
good.
in America, we pronounce it Grajek.
Grajek.
Yes.
Very good. I understand. I can see it go both ways. And I cannot say hello in Polish because my Polish is terrible. Learned Russian and that ruined my ability to speak Polish, which is a lesson in geopolitics. You are the, what I see you as the czar of EDUCAUSE data and research. What's your actual title right now?
My title right now is Vice President of Data, Research, and Analytics.
And analytics.
And that will be my title until November 1st.
Next week?
Next week.
And then what happens?
Yes. Then what happens is I'll become the Vice President of Communities and Research in EDUCAUSE. And I think that
that's
I heard
a really
you,
different title.
Yeah. So I think that I heard you talking with John about the departure of Julie Little,
yes.
my dear colleague,
yes.
and we're going to miss her so much. I realize that throughout this conference, I'm in a little bit of denial about the fact that she won't be here next year. She's just really, I think of her as the soul of EDUCAUSE, and I'll miss her so very much. And as part of her leaving, as happens, when any really important position opens up, you rethink the position, not just for that position, but you also rethink the organization. And so that's what happened here at EDUCAUSE. And the decision was made partly because our strategic plan is one of the pillars, one of the three pillars is professional learning. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring in somebody who could focus 100% on professional learning and to strengthen their scope and their capabilities by bringing our events management and our events operation into that portfolio, and then to move the programmatic aspects of it, most notably the EDUCAUSE Learning Initiative and our post-secondary work in student success that has been funded by the Gates Foundation and IPASS, and bring those into my area, which already had cybersecurity initiative, ITGRC, enterprise IT, and in fact the eCore working groups, which are all programs that in various different ways involve members together to come together and form communities, to work, to create, and to learn from one another.
You're going to have a huge empire after all this. There's a lot of different program bits. I mean, eCore, ELI, the Gates IPASS work, enterprise IT, professional learning. I mean, that's a huge chunk.
Oh, I won't have professional learning, so we'll have a separate VP for professional learning. Yes. Yeah.
I was worried about saying, I mean, cloning is a good thing, but we don't know how to make it work perfectly.
No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. But even
congratulations in advance.
Oh, thank you. What I'm most excited about is the fact that EDUCAUSE has wonderfully talented staff, and I'll get to work even more closely with some of the most talented people in EDUCAUSE: Malcolm Brown, Veronica Diaz, Anna Beret, and Nancy Milichak. Yes, just some really good people. Sandra Smith, who's been doing a lot of work with our leading academic transformation work, and then Holly Morris, who she was a person who really helped create the Breakthrough Models Incubator and Academy, and so really smart, capable people. And I'm excited about the opportunity to, particularly as we move eCore into all the member programs, to take a look at capabilities like research groups, and then focus areas like teaching and learning with BLI, like cybersecurity, like enterprise IT, and to think through what should we offer today's members and tomorrow's members? What's the right way for us to structure this so that we can have some foundational things that people can predict, look forward to, homes for them to come to, but also try to incorporate more agility as people change, as their interests change, as things emerge, because I think that that's something that EDUCAUSE needs to get a little bit better at, and we know that.
Well, that'll be quite a learning organization.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, you're here for all kinds of purposes. And this the EDUCAUSE conference is a gathering of the tribes, all kinds of people you get to meet and work with. But I'm wondering, were you presenting anything this week? I'm saying were because it could have been so far or coming up.
Yes.
Did you present on the top 10 issues?
I did. I did 3 presentations yesterday.
3 yesterday.
3 yesterday, and I'm
Oh,
so
wow.
glad that all I'm doing is talking with people like you today.
Oh, you're very kind.
Yeah.
I thought you'd putting your feet up and be outside, perhaps by the pool instead. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
How'd the presentations go?
Well, I won't know until we get the evaluation.
But what was the vibe? I mean, how did people...
Yeah. I did one presentation for the Diana G. Oberlinger Forum, which was a very small, intimate group, and then I did 2 presentations for all conference attendees. So I'll talk to you a little bit about those. Top 10 IT issues, that's always a fun thing. There's just so much energy and anticipation in the room about what's going to be, the top 10, and I also get to work with the panel members and let the audience, they get to hear about their own experiences on campus and things like that.
The panel, is that the committee that helped generate the top 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So what the top 10? I think on the top of them all was security, I think.
Right.
And then also challenges in hiring competent IT staff, right? And those are familiar issues, but they're persistent.
They are persistent. It's funny, Brian, because a lot of people say, oh, the top 10 issues, they don't change from year to year. They're always the same. And I have 2 responses to that. And the first response is they absolutely do. And let me tell you what's different this year. And the other response is kind of the opposite, which is, of course, they don't change. Because how many really important, difficult things do we do in higher education that come and go in the space of a year?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
You could say the same about politics.
That's right.
How many
That's
issues
right.
are persistent?
It's true. It's true. Absolutely. Healthcare is a great example.
Healthcare, taxes, budget, economic.
Yes.
So you had. So what were some of the other leading issues? We had the security issue, hiring people. What were some of the other ones?
Yeah, funding models again. As we think, funding has been on the list every year since we did the top 10 IT issues. But
when did you begin doing it?
I think it was around 2003. And for those of you who are interested in looking back in time, we have an interactive visualization of the top 10 IT issues going back as long as we've collected the data. You can click on a theme and you can see the years that it made the list, the years that it didn't. You can see how it moved up and down in the list. Yeah, it is. It's fun.
In the audience, and people who were excited about this, which of the issues that got the biggest or the biggest attention?
Well, we know because what the panel did was they looked at the 10 and they said, well, we know we can't talk about all 10. So they grouped them into 5 thematic groupings, and then we let the audience vote on the issues that they wanted to hear about.
This was yesterday.
Yes, this was yesterday. Yeah.
So what won the poll?
Well, what won the poll, and over 330 people participated in the poll, which is really cool. Yeah. And the number 1 issue they wanted to hear about was not number 1, which was information security. It was next generation enterprise IT. And so we talked about that. And really, what's going on with that is that our current ERP systems, which most institutions put in, anywhere from 1999 or so to the very early 2000s, they have really outlived their value. People are looking for a new enterprise IT platform or suite or collection of applications to move to, most notably, to the cloud, and we can have how they can leverage the cloud, but also thinking about using new enterprise architectures, and think about now these systems are not just about efficiently supporting and managing transactions,
Right.
but they're also about applying analytics in ways that will really inform and facilitate decision making.
So this really connects with big data and data analytics.
It connects with big data and data analytics, and it also connects with what I think is the most pressing use of big data and analytics in higher education, which is student success.
Right.
Yes.
Definitely. Let me pause for a second, not for station identification, but I could say, this is the Future Trends Forum. We're so glad to be here at EDUCAUSE. And if you are joining us for the first time, or if you haven't had a chance to refresh yourself on how we interact, we'd love to hear from you in the audience. And so there are 3 ways you can do this. So first, if you look at your screen in the Shindig environment, if you look at the very, very bottom right, there are 2 orange buttons. One of them has a hand and a word raise. So click that if you have a mic and a camera that work and you'd like to speak and come up on stage and join Susan and I and ask us a question and make a comment. If, on the other hand, you don't want to come up on stage, but you still want to ask a question, no problem. Click the orange Ask button, and then you can type in your comment or thought, and then we'll get to show that to everybody else, and you can read it out loud as well. Now, if you'd like to go outside the Shindig platform and you'd like to tweet at us, please do. And we already have some Twitter comments. Just use the hashtag FTT, and also make sure you tweet at myself, Ryan Alexander, and we'll bring your comment up on stage as well. So if you have any questions about either the transformation of EDUCAUSE, including Susan's whole role there, or about the top 10 issues that we've just been discussing everywhere from next generation enterprise IT to security, hiring, training, and funding, please fire away those questions, because we have the fortunate luck to have you for the next 14 minutes or so. So we have time for your questions. To come back to what you were saying about those issues, thinking about enterprise IT and how that could change, that's a very forward-looking view, because we don't have a clear turnkey solution to the campus. A lot of this is still pilot stuff or brainstorming stuff, actually.
It really is, Brian, and that's one of the challenge spaces that we're in. The old ways don't work and don't fit anymore. The new ways aren't ready, and so institutions recognize that now is a time of preparation, of exploration, and people are really looking to those innovators, those early adopters among our community to blaze the trail.
Now, in EDUCAUSE, can you then help identify those early adopters and those trailblazers, and then through the communities, which you are helping be responsible for, you can help share that knowledge and that information?
Yes. The nice thing about EDUCAUSE is that the most valuable resource in EDUCAUSE are our community members. Without our community members, we wouldn't have a conference. We wouldn't do research. We wouldn't have publications.
You're like Soylent Green. You're made people. So,
that's right. And it's not horrifying in this case.
And you're tasty, but you get to turn that into such a virtue of being able to have all this community share information. We had Allison Salisbury from EdSurge, an EdSurge partner with us to make this possible for the shootings too. And Allison had this great metaphor. She said that when we take a look at technology on campus, there's often an iceberg metaphor. Above the waterline, you can see things like what an LMS is capable of, how open the IP is, a library system, how many books can handle, blah, blah, blah. But below the waterline is how it actually gets used. And that's much harder to see. It's below the water. So it sounds like your task, and this is a great one, is to help look below the waterline of all these different campuses and find out how these technologies are being used. Future.
And there are a number of ways that we can do that. We can do research, and research in a way is a mediated discovery and knowledge creation endeavor that the EDUCAUSE staff bring. But we can also have events to bring people together, either virtually or in face-to-face, to share, to explore, to brainstorm, and also potentially to find partners and collaborators and folks who are, at the same point in the journey. We can identify the early adopters either through the research or through simply meeting them at these events and give them a stage to help them tell their story in our publications to really amplify the story. And then we also have a working group capability. And with the working group capability, to me, it's one of the most exciting capabilities of EDUCAUSE because it brings together members who have a common challenge and who come together and say, let's try to figure this out together. So, a couple of working groups that formed in the last year or so. One was around IT funding models. And at first, the working group was going to get together. Paige Francis was one of the leaders of the working group when she was CIO at Fairfield University. And she said at first they got together and they were simply going to write about, here are the things that are challenging about the funding models. So that it was really initially a descriptive exercise. And then as they started talking, and when I say they, this is a great example of a working group that went beyond the EDUCAUSE membership because it was in collaboration with the KUBO. So some of the people on the working group were CIOs, some of them were business officers because they both bring pieces of the solution to the IT funding model puzzle. And they ended up creating a framework that is reminiscent of the Gartner Run, Grow, Transform categories, and it was about innovation and it was about growth and operating IT, and they identified different considerations when you create a funding model for each type of expenditure. And how you might govern funding differently, how you might have different KPIs and manage funding differently.
Key performance indicators for everyone.
Yes, thank you. And this is one example of a working group that came together and did they absolutely solve the funding model problem? No. Did they help us all make some progress? Yes, absolutely yes. So that's one example. Another great example of one that's working now is on data management and data governance. And again, the question is, we all have these challenges, and what if we all got together and tried to solve them collaboratively and collectively?
EDUCAUSE is in a great position to do that. We have a question coming up. I'd like to follow up with more questions, and I will. But we have a question from Doyle B. Who wants to know, how can we champion institutional adoption and usage of big data and analytics for student success?
That is a good question. I think that gets to the heart of one of the most important things that all of our research, all of our conversations with members highlights, and that is the importance of leadership. And the importance of shared leadership in almost every challenge that we have with information technology. So what we found over and over again is IT alone can tell the story. They can bring forward success stories that they're hearing in the field and share them at their institution. They can identify some of the challenges that are happening at an institution and aggregate them. They can only get so far. And in the absence of institutional leadership and that commitment to invest in something like student success, both with dollars but also political capital and cultural capital. In the absence of that, IT can only get so far. One of the things that I'm really excited about for the Top 10 IT Issues article that's going to be published January 17th
EDUCAUSE Review?
In EDUCAUSE Review is that this year we came up with a very much more structured format of questions that we asked the panel, the IT Issues panel members to answer. And that format was really focused on helping our members tell the story of these issues to their IT constituents, but also to leadership and faculty at their institutions.
So facilities, academic officers, finance,
Exactly,
advancement,
exactly,
and so on.
exactly. So one of the questions that we asked, the first question we asked
Mm.
about every issue is, what's the elevator speech?
Right.
How do you describe this issue and its importance to leadership at your institution?
And it has to be an elevator speech and in English.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
That was a great question. Please come with more questions. We have only a few more minutes with Susan, unfortunately. But if you have more questions about where her research is going and where EDUCAUSE is going along these lines, please, again, click the raise hand button, click the ask button, or fire off on Twitter. Okay, we had a really interesting observation on Twitter from Carrie Watkins a little while ago. She was responding to John O'Brien, and she said that the new trends from EDUCAUSE overlap and work together. So she's pointing to increased diversity, the combination of IT and faculty, the focus on student success, and how these really intertwine in all kinds of ways. It sounds like your work as the organization shifts a bit will really help take advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about, is the opportunity to think through how all these areas overlap. So we have EDUCAUSE Learning Initiative, which is focused on teaching and learning, on students and faculty. We have the Enterprise IT program, which you would say, well, those are two completely different things. Well, what about student information systems and many of these systems that you need to support student success? And so there are connections, there are points of overlap, and there's no issue that is the purview of any one constituency in higher education anymore. So we're real excited about exploring some of those issues.
That's a powerful statement. No one issue belongs to any one particular one. We really have to rethink shared governance as a result.
We absolutely do. We absolutely do.
Let me walk back to something you said earlier, because the work that ECAR has been doing for so long is so important and so useful, and I gather now that it's open to everybody in EDUCAUSE, which is a big change.
Yeah.
And in full disclosure, I've written for ECAR a couple of times, so besides my stuff, the rest is great. But let me ask, where do you see research going that you'll be leading and Cathart going forward? Do you see that you will be involving more people in the community as contributors? Will you be using new technologies to share your results, everything from social media to virtual reality? Okay, well, next question.
Yes. No. I think that the way we're going to be thinking about our research is not dissimilar from the way IT folks are thinking about IT going forward, and that is that we want to be able to have some anchoring points in our research, and we tend to call them signature products, so that there are things that people can look forward to over and over again. Our top 10 strategic technologies and trends are signature products. We've created a series of signature products from the EDUCAUSE Core Data Service, the Enterprise Application Marketplace publications, our IT Workforce Study, our Student and Faculty Studies, our signature products. So all that, but and those will be anchors. However, where we want to orient, and part of the reason that those anchors are useful is they provide stability and continuity for converting those papers into something, a useful set of tools that can get continually updated. So the student study is not just a report, it's also a benchmarking tool that participants in the student study can use, and we're adding more functionality to that. Now, in addition to that stability, now one of the places where we want to make more progress is in agility and involving the community in not just contributing to our research, but setting the agenda for our research.
How are you going to get that kind of feedback? How do you poll, oh gosh, so many people, so many institutions? How are you going to get a sense of that?
Well, part of it is being willing to experiment and to maybe hop on something that we thought was going to be hot and maybe isn't. Fail fast, as they say. Nobody really wants to fail, but if you're going to do it, fail fast. And again, because EDUCAUSE is just such a wonderfully rich organization in something like the CIO listserv, which is an email list that is a point of meeting and conversation among many of our members. A day hardly goes by but that somebody on that listserv doesn't ask a researchable question. Yeah. So one of the things that I want us to do in the coming months is to design a process where we can identify an emergent need and respond to it and quickly provide some input on it.
Oh, what kind of turnaround would that be? Months?
Well, I'm not gonna. I would hope it's measurable in days and not months.
Nice.
Yeah. And now my staff is
having coronary moments.
I know. So if we see any tweets from Data Diva, Eden Dahlstrom, we'll find out.
Well, maybe this is a case again for using more social media and mobile devices.
Yes.
The expectation is fine that this may be rough and ready, data and data response kind of. Fantastic. We are on time. We have to release you back to your going outside with bare feet and maybe a daiquiri and relaxing because
that sounds nice.
I'm glad to envision this for you.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to help because you deserve it because you've been working like mad. And come November 1st, you get to work in a whole new way. Thank you so much for contributing so much. We're so glad.
Oh, thank you.
And we're really glad for EDUCAUSE for helping sponsor this for time.
Oh, thank you.
Can we follow up and ask you more questions later on?
Absolutely, you can. And I'm going to answer a question that you didn't ask.
Which is?
A question that you brought up with John O'Brien. I heard the word science fiction, the term science fiction, and my ears perked up. Yeah. I'm a big sci-fi fan. And my favorite.
I need a hug. Yes.
So I'll tell you my favorite sci-fi writer is, and that's Neil Stephenson.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as
Did you read Seven Eves yet?
Absolutely. I loved it. I read Seven Eves, and I told everybody who had ears to listen
oh, my gosh. That book. I keep looking at the moon in a new way every time I see it.
Me too. And after I read it, I went on his website, and I thought, I would love to get Neil Stephenson as a general session speaker.
You should.
Well, on his website, he says, I really don't like to speak, so when people invite me to speak, I quote an exorbitant price, and I tell them I'm going to talk about whatever the heck I'm going to talk about, and so I'd still love to have it.
It'd still be great to have it. Let me follow up and bug you about this, because we're doing an online book club about near future science fiction, looking for inspiration and how technology and education are changing. So I'll shoot you a note about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that would be so much fun.
Oh, so glad to see you. I feel like I should make it a Bolton sandwich.
Oh,
yes! Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Really enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll follow up and be in touch.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Susan.
Take care.